Okay, let's unpack this. We've all been there. You meet someone, you genuinely want to remember their name, you hear it, maybe it's Amelia, and then 2 minutes later, poof, gone. Your mind is a complete blank. That one little piece of data is just, it's stuck.
It is such a universal, frustrating moment, and most people, they immediately turn it inward. They think, I just have a terrible memory.
Right, my brain is broken.
Exactly. But the sources we've looked at today, they offer a much more profound truth, really. Our mission in this deep dive is to challenge that whole assumption, because we're constantly confusing actual forgetting with a simple failure to retrieve the information.
And that distinction, that's everything. The core idea here is that you haven't forgotten the name.
Yeah.
You haven't learned how to call it back yet.
It's stored. It's absolutely intact. The issue is just that the access pathway, let's say, is blocked or maybe a little overgrown.
I like that.
There's a brilliant analogy from the material. Think of your memory like a vast, valuable storehouse. It is filled with everything, every face, every conversation, every item you've ever seen. Nothing has vanished. The problem is you just don't know where the key is for that specific lock you need right now.
So the information hasn't disappeared. We're bad locksmiths.
We need to become better locksmiths. And that immediately shifts the energy, doesn't it?
It really does. It goes from self-criticism, how do I fix my broken brain, to an engineering problem. How do I build a better retrieval system?
Precisely. And to find those keys, we first have to understand the deep rules that govern memory in the first place. We have to stop seeing memory as a passive storage bin, like a hard drive.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
It's an active emotional filter.
Because if it were just a hard drive, I would remember what I ate for lunch 3 Tuesdays ago. But I wouldn't instantly be able to recall the exact color of the sweater I wore during some embarrassing argument in high school.
That is the core paradox. The sources suggest memory follows a really deep rule. What the brain decides is important, that stays. What's vague, it floats away. But anything attached to strong emotion, positive or negative, that gets stamped in deep.
So it's not just stored casually, it's like neurochemically tagged. When something is emotionally intense, a spike in adrenaline or cortisol attaches these little chemical markers to the memory.
Right. And that makes the retrieval pathway much, much stronger. The brain basically says, I might need this for survival later.
Okay, but here's the paradox. When we really need a memory, like a name in a meeting, we try so hard, we gung, we strain to force it out.
And that strain, that conscious effort, is actually the obstacle. The material is very clear that trying too hard can jam the access door. You're treating retrieval like it's a muscle, thinking the harder you flex, the better it works. But with memory, brute force is often the very thing that locks access.
I felt that. I needed a statistic for a presentation once, and the harder I pushed for the number, the more blank my mind got. It only came to me like 5 minutes later when I was talking about something completely different.
The second you relaxed, the unconscious mind just served it up. So if stopping the conscious struggle helps, doesn't that point to the answer being in the unconscious part of the brain?
That's a powerful transition because we live in a time when we outsource our memory, right?
Oh, completely.
Our phones hold our contacts, our calendars, our photos. It's a modern trap. We start to lose faith in our own internal memory because we just don't have to use it.
But the brain is still listening. It is always listening, even when we consciously check out. Your unconscious is constantly recording. You might scroll past hundreds of ads a day without consciously noting a single one.
But later, in the supermarket.
Exactly. You find yourself reaching for a product. You can't name the ad, you can't recall the brand, but your brain stored it, and it's influencing your behavior. It is undeniable proof that you remembered without knowing you remembered.
The evidence gets even wilder when you look at some of the medical science, like neural stimulation during brain surgery. A tiny electrical impulse can just resurrect a seemingly lost memory. The whole thing.
With the sounds, the smells, the sights, all of it. If you can bring that back, then the data was never gone. The forgetting was just a pathway that got covered up.
And the anesthesia case from the source material is, well, it's chilling. It shows how that unconscious recording can actively shape your life.
It really does. It's a story about a woman who was under full general anesthesia. Before the surgery, she completely trusted her doctor. Afterwards, she became so hostile toward him, and she had no idea why.
Her conscious mind had no record of anything being wrong.
Correct. It was only under hypnosis that the reason came out. While she was clinically unconscious, her brain recorded the surgical team making cynical, careless comments about her, and that memory, totally inaccessible to her, created this deep-seated hostility. It proves the unconscious records everything and it shapes our emotions.
Wow, that is a fascinating and frankly unsettling idea. That we're constantly being shaped by information we think we've forgotten.
Which is why we have to master retrieval. Let's just clarify that one more time. Memory is the recording. Retrieval is the skill of calling it out. Most people don't have a memory problem. They have a retrieval skills problem.
So let's get into that. Let's build the architecture. What are the 3 laws of access?
Law number 1, attention is the recording gate. If you don't pay clear attention when you get the information, the recording will be faint. It'll be blurry. Clear attention creates a deeper mark. You can't retrieve something later that you only skimmed past in the moment.
That links directly back to presence, doesn't it?
Yeah.
If I'm already thinking about my reply while you're telling me your name, my attention is divided, the gate is half closed.
Perfectly put. Law number 2, meaning is the glue. If you try to memorize a long string of numbers, say a phone number, the brain sees it as unconnected fragments, like sand.
And you can't build anything with sand. You need bricks.
Right. And the glue that turns sand into bricks is meaning. It's story. It's visualization. Take a number like 827-319-5401. Trying to repeat that over and over is just, it's brutal.
So instead, I break it into chunks and turn it into a little movie.
Yes. Maybe 827 is a giant figure 8 riding a swan, which looks like a 2, across a lucky 7-leaf clover. Make it absurd. Make it move. The brain loves movies. It stores them effortlessly. Raw data becomes a story.
Okay, that makes sense. So law 3.
Law number 3, state creates the pathway. This one is huge and often overlooked. You recall memories better when you're in the right state. Relaxed. Focused.
So the emotional or physiological state you're in when you learn something gets linked to the memory itself.
Exactly. It becomes part of the key. The goal isn't to be anxious when you take a test just because you were anxious when you studied. The goal is to practice recording important information in a calm, focused state to begin with.
So we have the laws.
Okay.
Attention, meaning, and state. Now we can get to the practical tools. The keys and shortcuts.
Let's do it.
Key 1 is visualization and hooks. We know memory hates raw data. It loves hooks, like a coat rack for your thoughts.
This is classic memory training. You pre-memorize a list of visual posts. For example, you decide forever that 1 is a pencil, 2 is a swan, 3 is a 3-legged stool, and so on.
So if I have a shopping list and the 27th item I need to remember is printer ink, I'd need a preset image for 27, maybe a giant cartoon rabbit.
Perfect. Then you create a ridiculous image linking the rabbit and the ink. The rabbit is furious because it spilled black printer ink all over its white fur. Later, you think 27, your brain serves up rabbit, and the image of the ink-stained rabbit pulls the memory. The number suggests the image pulls the memory.
It's a system, it's not just hope. Okay, key 2, anchoring, the emergency shortcut.
This is for when you need rapid access. You create a specific physical signal, a gesture, to trigger a state of retrieval. The source gives the example of touching your thumb to your index and middle fingers.
So it's like a mental hotkey.
It is. But it's not magic. This needs repetition. You have to practice linking that specific touch with a feeling of calm, successful retrieval, maybe 30, 40, 50 times. You're training your nervous system. When this happens, open the vault now.
Okay, and finally, key 3, the mental screen. This is for when you're stuck on a name right now. The advice is simple. Don't strain.
Right. Instead, you reconstruct the entire event. You use your mental screen to play back the scene. Where were you standing when you met Amelia? What was she wearing? How was the light? What was she holding? You replay the whole film segment.
And when you recreate the context, the name often just pops up, like a subtitle appearing on the movie.
You stop forcing the isolated data point, and you lean on the rich context your brain stored effortlessly.
This all comes back to the bigger idea, the wisdom of presence. The modern world pushes us to scroll, to skim, to multitask.
But deep memory requires the opposite. It requires presence. If you only skim the information, it never anchors. It can't take root. And if it doesn't take root, you can't retrieve it.
Presence is the soil.
It's the soil. Exactly.
So let's bring this all home. What are the 4 big lessons for someone listening right now?
Lesson 1, awareness. Stop the negative self-talk. Stop calling yourself goldfish brain. Change the script. When you can't remember something, just tell yourself, I haven't retrieved it yet. That shift is freedom.
Lesson 2, wisdom and choice. Don't use these techniques just to show off. Remember what serves life. Remember a promise. Remember a detail. about a loved one.
That's it. Lesson 3, practice the skills. Really focus on visualization and association. Turn data into movies. Your brain wants to play this game.
And lesson 4, install a shortcut. Create a small ritual, a deep breath, a physical anchor to signal to your nervous system it's time to open the vault.
At the end of the day, good memory isn't about remembering everything. It's about remembering the right things. And that reflects character. Remembering your promises shows integrity. Remembering another person's pain shows compassion. Remembering who you are in the middle of chaos, that's freedom.
So the question isn't just, how do I remember more?
The question is, how can I be more present?
So here's your actionable step for today. The next time you meet someone, really look at them. Truly hear their name. Don't just stuff it in your head. Give it focus, give it weight. As the source says, place the name in your heart.
And the final thought we want to leave you with is this. So many of us are critical of ourselves just because we lack the key. If you stop asking, did I forget? And instead start asking, am I learning how to return to the data that is already mine? You unlock something beautiful. You're not forgetting. You're just learning how to come home.